Whoa, I've got it. It's Marshall's aphorisms. You're joking. Some of your aphorisms are over an hour long. That's not an aphorism. No. Well, perhaps they need to be proceed. That's the way to learn something, you know. I found that. I suppose that was one of the fundamental principle that I found. I could proceed. What am I supposed to know of these lessons? I mean, teacher talks for an hour and n times a year, and at the end of the term or the year he gives a test. It's going to be 10 or 20 simple questions. What are they going to be? Presumably the essence of what he's been teaching. What is the essence of what he's been teaching? I'll learn the list. I breeze through the test, the exams at the end of term. Me, a sub-average student, suddenly becomes the high flyer through the simplest of things to do, or just proceed what I'm supposed to know and learn it. Well, past degrees doing that. It's dead easy. Bit of a slog at times. Till I really proceed and get it down to something I can handle. And then I can pour it all out on the page in the exam. Anyone can do that. Even a person who can't write English like Marshall. Oh, my spelling's not as bad as it appears in these titles to these recordings. It's a phonetic spelling I'm using. I mean, it's really weird, I know, but it's the simplest thing in the world and would save kids and foreigners so much labour and hardship in learning the language, how to read and how to spell. If only we could switch from our historical spelling of chaos to a simple, rational, logical letters for sounds, sound spelling. So I use it in the titles to my recordings. It's yet another Marshall quirk. Oh, I hope it's a blessing, Lord. My name's Hope. Oh, good. I'm a right to hope it's a blessing. Thank you, Dad. Look, I'm not kidding. I beat them all. In spite of my inability to read at the age of something like 11 or 12, and my appallingly poor spelling, 13, 14 and 15 years of age. Still, by sheer knowing what the teacher wants to hear in the exam, beat everybody. I mean everybody. Oh, there's nearly 300 people in my year at school. 2 of us got to university and I was one of them. Look, it wasn't a fair contest. My mum loved me to bits and she was pretty bright. I don't mean she formally homeschooled me, but she just loved me to bits. Gave me the confidence. Despite, our childish incompetence. But anyway, that simple rule, précis what you're supposed to know, learn the précis of the précis, the summary of the summary. You see, I was, without realising it, a born economist, wasn't I? How amazing, the bloke who taught us history, taught us economic history. That wasn't normal in schools. Don't know why my secondary school was to bless me in the way it did. It's quite a tough school too. Frightening, really. I wouldn't like to be brought up in it again. You may think your comprehensives are bad, but I'm not sure my secondary school was very good either. But again, you see what we see as great difficulty and hardship. God means for a blessing. And nothing can stop him blessing us. Well, I mean, you can appeal to him and he'll respond with loving care. Because he's our dad. He's our dad. Love you, Dad. Thank you, Dad. I'm going to labour the point here, but look, I didn't just get to university, you know. I got 4 A-levels and other people got 2. I got A's and B's and other people were getting just passes and C's and D's. Even an E was a pass. F was a failure. I mean, like in accountancy, I got 8% at the January mocks at the tech college I went to after secondary school. And I sailed through the A-level exam in the May-June. Wow, and that was my poorest mark. I got, I think I got a C for that, but I got an A's, 2 A. What did I get? What did I get? I got an A for law and 2 B's and the C. For the other subjects. I went to university and I was bright. I mean, I asked questions, I had confidence to ask questions. I mean, not in a lecture of 200 people, but in the classes, And well, after a while, the other students couldn't follow the questions and the discourse I would be having with the teacher, the lecturer. I mean, we had a professor of logic who was outstanding, Alistair McIntyre. If you were a philosopher, you'd know his name. I mean, he's long gone now, of course. But, for instance, 5 of us got 120% mark in the exam. The administration of the university didn't know how to handle this. They were used to McIntyre being an absolute problem to them, of course. He insisted, no, they got 120%. In other words, 20% more than is beyond reason anyway, He could encourage a student, you see. He was a magnificent bloke. That's totally secular. Well, he started training as a priest for the first year of training and then flipped and became whatever it was, non-believer. And he was teaching logic and philosophy, of course. That was his subject. And I was doing the logic option, of course. It just drew me like a magnet. He'd give unnecessary lectures at lunchtime to the whole university. Anyone could come along, student union premises he'd use. And that was a real university from my point of view. A man who's just totally dedicated to his subject and wants to bless his students. I mean, I wasn't Christian either, you understand. I was a humanist, yeah. And he was a bit coarse at times. I didn't take to that, but I looked past that. Okay, he's not brought up the same as me, that doesn't matter. I found him an inspiration. That's how God had it. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. See, God uses all things. We had a text, and I can't remember where that was. All things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. Well, we're all called according to his purpose because we're made by him, and he makes everything good. He's our dad. See if I can find that text. Hang on. Yep, Google tells me it's Romans 8:28. Marvellous. Thank you, Dad. I say I've not been true to character, have I? I'm usually quoting nothing but John 17. See, I'm quite broad, really, aren't I? Not the narrow-minded fogey that you think. I even quote from the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, goodness. If that isn't a heresy from a Christian point of view. Could have been burnt at the stake 200 years ago. Tar and feathered in my granddad's time. Do you know my granddad on mum's side? He witnessed the last tar and feathering in his village. You can't believe that our barbarous past is so close to us. I mean, in fairness, he must have been born 1880s. So, well, I find it hard to believe now, but that's what Mum told me. They rough musicked this couple through the town because they were unfaithful to their spouses. They'd been having an affair, you see. And Mum described it as a tar and feathering. I mean, she's got it second-hand from her dad, of course, but it was, well, it's not good to think on, so I won't go through the details of it, but it was the death of people because, yeah, barbaric. How to get onto that? You see how the mind wanders into evil so easily, doesn't it? So you wrap it up and you sacrifice it on the fire. You throw it into the sacrificial fire for God to purify. Whatsoever is good and lovely. Choose to think on these things if you wish to be blessed. Staggeringly blessed into life eternal. Thank you, Dad. But you do realise, don't you, I was secular, so I was a bit ruthless in analysis. I mean, I could tie the staff up in knots. I mean, I must have been a menace to them, really. I was very vocal, very able. you could be belittled by that sort of student. And I think I may have belittled a few of them, lecturers. By the grace of God, I mean, when I became a Christian, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to bring out the best in everyone in the room. So if I was in a seminar, the seminar changed character from being a competitive, worldly environment to something that was helpful and bringing out the best in every person and every comment made in the room. I could build on. I could appreciate, not crush. You see, the love of God transforms you. I mean, I was still just as able. But now I was an able blessing. And look, I'm not modest, as you know. I've no humility in a sense. I just know how to be a blessing. I make mistakes, of course. Don't get me wrong. But not many. And it's fewer, I think, as time goes on. Although one feels the burden of the mistakes more in a sense. Because you don't want to do that. You don't want to hurt somebody. And you still hurt some people occasionally. But God knows all about that. You trust him to turn it to good. He turns all things to good. He's God, for goodness sake. And he is God for goodness' sake. He just loves blessing us. Our Dad. Love you, Dad.